We do not promote the use of legal or illegal psychoactive substances. This video has been created strictly for harm reduction purposes. The story that I'm about to share with you guys is not only my all-time favorite trip report, but it's actually a video that I used to have posted on my channel, which I unfortunately had to remove. So we are here in Belize at
Cajalpec.
These are Mayan ruins behind me. Now, the reason I had to remove it is because this was a video that I had made with my girlfriend. We filmed it together, and this happened about 2 years ago before we realized how popular my channel was going to get.
It was like we were in a rocket ship.
Time machine.
A time machine.
What happened was someone that she knew ended up seeing it, somebody who she really wished would have never watched it, and as a result, she asked me to remove all the videos that I had posted where she talked about past psychedelic experiences. Anyway, before I get into actually telling you guys the story, I want to preface this video by saying I do not personally recommend that anyone watching follows in my footsteps. Not only is this a story from my past, and not only do I no longer explore these substances, I'm on a massive break, but also this combination of drugs is not something that anyone should take lightly. Now, the reason why I say this is my favorite experience is because every once in a while you'll have this trip which just goes beyond being simply ineffable. I mean, people say during psychedelic experiences that they meet the Godhead. They meet all that is. They meet the universal consciousness, whatever the hell you want to call it. People say that when they had that experience, it's like a Satori awakening. The experience that I'm about to explain to you guys goes beyond that. This was an experience that I shared with my partner. After it happened, I have never been able to see reality the same way again. But anyway, that's enough up-talking and hyping up this shit. Let's just do a headfirst dive into the shallow end of the pool and jump right into this story.
So we were at the peak of an LSD experience while we were in New Zealand, and one of our friends was tripping with us, and Adam and I decided to go into the spare room to smoke some DMT at the height of the experience.
We loaded enough DMT in the pipe for both of us so that, I didn't have to reload it after, so we could just keep smoking it together. And she went first. I lit the pipe for her. She took 2 solid hits and handed it back to me. At this point, I walked over to the mirror because I needed help lighting it. I couldn't see where to light it. And my plan was to just light it and smoke it really quickly and then shoot back to the bed, lay down before the DMT knocked me over onto my ass. As I was taking my first hit, my girlfriend started talking, and she started saying some pretty bizarre stuff. She started going, wow, 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 whoa. And then she looked at me and she goes, you're a wizard. I'm smoking and I'm like, what? I'm a wizard? I paid no attention to it. I took my 2 big hits and then I quickly ran to the bed, and my plan was to sit beside her and then take a final hit. So I brought the pipe up to my lips to take my final hit. She reached out right before I could light it, and she grabbed my arm like this. She grabbed my skin, and she looked at me and she said, wait! As soon as she touched me and said, wait, it felt as though all of reality was playing a game of freeze. I imagine if a fly was buzzing by, its wings would have been going like... It was intense. But before I realized what was going on, or before I could even process that reality was all frozen around me, it was as if I was a camera and the lens zoomed out, and all of a sudden my girlfriend's head multiplied into what looked like an infinite amount of heads all attached to one singular giant head and stretching off it and kind of swirling around like this. Before I could even really think about how bizarrely weird what I was looking at was, reality took another step back, and it felt like I just got flushed through a portal, and all of a sudden, I was in a different place. It felt like somebody was changing the channel. I'm in this room. It looks kind of like a castle, very high ceilings. I'm wearing Victorian-style clothing, but I'm a girl. And I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm brushing my hair. Just doing me, brushing my Victorian hair with my puffy-ass dress on. And the weirdest thing was, I looked exactly like my girlfriend. I literally turned into my own girlfriend. I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and all of a sudden I felt this scared feeling wash over me. It was this impending doom. And I got the hint that something was wrong. I didn't know what it was at first. I'm still brushing my hair. And then it hit me like a lightning bolt. I went, oh my God, I'm in the wrong place. I'm not supposed to be here. And I remember looking at my reflection, which was my girlfriend's face, and I went to scream. I went, right before I let out a peep, it was like, boom, reality took another leap backwards, and I got sucked into a totally different place, like someone changed that channel again. It felt like me, whatever I may have been, a floating ball of consciousness, was still in the same space, but the radio signal, the frequency, the dimension that I was picking up was shifting. And now I am in what feels like an old house. It felt like it was the 50s or 60s, and I'm older, which I'm me again, right? So I'm back to being me, but how does this make any sense? How am I in the 50s or 60s, but older? Like, it's making no sense. I wouldn't even exist then. And I'm getting ready to go to work, and my girlfriend is on the bed, and she looks at me and she's like, did you hear that? And I'm like, no, I didn't hear that. What are you talking about? And she's like, that. Did you hear that? And she's getting more and more alarmed. And what was happening was she was hearing herself from my dimension on the bed saying, wow, 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 wow. And I got the feeling again like, oh my God, something is very wrong here. And before I knew it, there we go. I got dropped through another portal, just kerplunk. And next thing I know, I'm a big fat guy sitting in a garden, meditating in lotus position. I remember opening my eyes and I saw my girlfriend, and she was walking through the garden. She was looking at me, smiling at me. And before I even got a chance to realize, wow, this is weird, I got sucked out again. Only this was it for me. I was back in the bed. I was back in my own body. As crazy as all of that sounds, though, that is not the remarkable part of this trip. Every experience I was having, all the dimensions I was, getting shot through, my girlfriend, who had smoked with me, was also getting shot through. However, when I came back, she had one more stop in her experience, or at least that's what she said she did. She said that the next thing that happened was she was in this strange parallel dimension with this translucent being made out of blue light. And that is when she started saying, wow.
He was like this all-knowing being that you could just tell. Like, he was the highest of the highest if there was anything. But he just turned and he looked at me and he goes, you can stop saying wow now. I looked at him, I said, oh, okay. Anyways, this guy looks at me, this wizard, and he says, well, you've caught me in a strange predicament. You shouldn't be seeing anything that you're seeing right now. And I just kind of looked at him, I said, like, is this real? Like, this is so cool.
The dimension hopping?
Yeah. He was just staring and he was giggling, kind of going like, this is not where you're supposed to be right now. You shouldn't be seeing this. And then I can remember just zooming back out and I was back in bed and going like, I can't believe it. Did that really just happen?
Now, the interesting thing is when we woke up, we both woke up together at the same time. In a linear world, that makes no sense because from my perspective, before any of our trip happened, that's when she saw the wizard. The first thing that she was doing before she touched me was saying, wow, was saying I was a wizard or something was a wizard. But she swears up and down that for her, the wizard was the very last thing. And that's why she was saying, wow, because she couldn't believe what happened, that she was getting pulled through all these different parallel dimensions. And it turned out that the wizard was the guy who's supposed to be like in charge of managing things. So, silly creatures like us don't get stuck in the in-between place. Now, when I came back, she was the one who started saying to me, oh my God, were you there? Were you there with me? Like in that 60s house? And when she said that, I was like, what? That was real? You had that? You were the Buddha meditating? And I'm like, no. This is not real. There's no way that you got blasted to the exact same dimensions that I was in. Now, of course, someone who thinks logically would say that perhaps one of us came back and, we talked out loud, or we were talking to ourselves and we explained what was going on, and somehow we influenced each other's experience. And hey, that is a valid point, but I have a trump card to that. our friend Chris was in the other room. I instantly had to figure out if I was making this up. I was like, dude, you've been sitting here the whole time. Did you hear us having a conversation? Like, did you hear us talking the entire time? And he's like, no, you guys were totally silent. You were gone for a solid 5 minutes. So I don't think that's what happened. I really can't explain what happened. And that's why I said that this was one of the most incredible experiences that I've ever had on a psychedelic. After this experience, I really started to question what we know about consciousness. At the very least, consciousness has to be something that's shared. I mean, everyone's had the experience where they thought of someone that, hey, maybe they hadn't thought of in weeks, and then at that very moment or within a few seconds, the phone rings, and it's the exact person that you were thinking of. So, like, what's going on in those scenarios? Are they thinking of calling you and you're picking that up and then you think of them and then they call? Or did you think of them and then they went, oh, I haven't talked to them in a while, and then they called you? Or is that just a total coincidence? Or maybe reality as we know it, maybe there's a lot more for us to discover. Maybe we don't have as many answers as a lot of us like to believe we do. Anyway, that concludes this video. If you guys enjoyed my story, if it entertained you, if it made you think, then be sure you hit that like button. And if you want to see even more content from me, you can subscribe to this channel, and you can also subscribe to my second channel, where I have recently put out a video where I kind of talked about how I've been feeling lately. It was a pretty personal video. If you want to support me, if you support my cause, then be sure to check out our Patreon page. As always, be sure that you always test your substances, and if you need a test kit, there's a link in the video description. And I will see you guys all in the next video, which should be soon.
Most of us are on autopilot. Every day is a repeat of the last. We are living each day over and over and over again. An intense psychedelic trip can shake you up so hard that you finally start to see the world for what it is. And it's a fucking trip.